एंड सर इसका एक फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन है, आप इन सब लॉज के लिए कोई बुक रेकमेंड कर सकते हैं?
Read whatever books that suits you.
Okay.
Everyone is very sharp and intelligent these days, so you can know if you do moods, etc. You know what helps you, what doesn't help you.
Hello everybody, welcome back to FG Rocket. Today we have Akshay Sir with us. आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक रहेगा that would be rotating around corporate law practice and sir would be the right one to be answering all of those doubts that we have. Thank you so much sir, आपने इतना graciously हमारा invitation को accept किया.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
वैसे तो सर का जो वर्क प्रोफाइल है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा ब्रॉड एंड ब्राइट है, बट संक्षेप में बताने का कोशिश करूँगी. सर ने अपना LLB किया है NLIU भोपाल से. LLM he has done from Columbia University from the United States of America. सर बहुत सारे अच्छे फर्म्स में पार्टनर रह चुके हैं जैसे कि JSA, Saraf Partners, Luthra Luthra. इंडिगो में सर एसोसिएट जनरल काउंसिल भी रह चुके हैं. अभी के टाइम पे सर का अपना प्रैक्टिस है एंड ही हैज़ हिज ओन फर्म इन द नेम ऑफ सेज काउंसिल. Not just that, sir is also a trainer at heartfulness meditation. So thank you again, sir. Thank you so much for coming and accepting our invitation.
No, thank you.
तो सर जो सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन रहेगा दैट वुड बी फ्रॉम अ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ अ फर्स्ट ईयर लॉ स्टूडेंट कि कॉर्पोरेट लॉ जो प्रैक्टिस होती है उसके एग्जैक्टली कंपोनेंट्स क्या होते हैं, बिकॉज बच्चों को थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन रहता है, तो आप थोड़ी सी क्लैरिटी दे दीजिए.
So, one aspect that's very important for someone practicing in corporate law, I would say, is attention to detail, right? Because आप समझिए कि आप फर्स्ट ईयर सेकेंड ईयर में एक कॉर्पोरेट लॉ फर्म में क्या करते हैं. कॉर्पोरेट लॉ फर्म में फर्स्ट सेकेंड ईयर में एक एस्पेक्ट जो किसी भी एसोसिएट को ज़्यादातर करना पड़ेगा, एक तरीके की असाइनमेंट, उसको कहते हैं ड्यू डिलिजेंस, राइट? तो ड्यू डिलिजेंस का मतलब होता है दैट यू शुड हैव कैपेसिटी टू रीड, कॉम्प्रिहेंड, अंडरस्टैंड एंड समराइज एंड स्पॉट इश्यूज in heaps of documents, right? For example, आप material contracts की due diligence कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि ये कंपनी है और उनके बहुत सारे contracts हैं vendors के साथ, उनके customers के साथ. अब जो revenue आ रहा है that will depend on the nature of contracts, right? अगर उन contracts में कोई issue है कि वो terminate आसानी से हो सकते हैं, जैसे कि उनके अंदर कई बार ये क्लॉज होता है चेंज ऑफ कंट्रोल, कि अगर कंपनी का कंट्रोल चेंज हो जाए तो कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टर्मिनेबल होता है, राइट? इट कैन बी टर्मिनेटेड. सो द एक्वायरर ने एक्वायर करी आपके क्लाइंट ने वो कंपनी, और पता लगा कि सारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में वो क्लॉज था और उन्होंने टर्मिनेट कर दिया, तो उस एक्वायरर के लिए ये कंपनी किसी काम की नहीं रही, राइट? सो अगर आप डिलिजेंट नहीं हैं, आपका अटेंशन ऑफ डिटेल नहीं है, और आप इस तरह की, आप केवल एक शब्द ही ढूंढते रह गए बट आपने क्लॉज को ठीक से पढ़ा नहीं, और आपने ये इश्यूज नहीं ड्यू डिलिजेंस रिपोर्ट में अपने सीनियर्स को हाईलाइट करे और रिपोर्ट में नहीं आए, तो उससे उस ट्रांजैक्शन पे काफ़ी इफेक्ट हो सकता है. द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट लॉट ऑफ फर्स्ट ईयर स्टूडेंट्स, देयर इज some kind of a impression, wrong impression I would say, which has gone that due diligence is very boring work, it's clerical work, right? And therefore they want to do something interesting like negotiations. Now the time will come, but until you learn the ropes, until you understand importance of what you are doing, right, you will get burnt out, and then these issues of burnout and those things come. Because if you, जैसे आप मान लीजिए हम बच्चे थे, हमें खेल बहुत पसंद था, मान लो किसी को क्रिकेट खेलना बहुत पसंद है, will they ever get burnt out playing lot of cricket? Right? Because they enjoy doing that. So if you know importance of, let's say, due diligence, and you start enjoying that, you see value and purpose in the work that you are doing, that I'm highlighting risks for my client, I'm a very important part of this deal, because I'm finding risks so that we can mitigate those risks, so that my partner can suggest clauses in the contract to mitigate that risk, right? Then you will find purpose. And reading all these papers will not be boring anymore.
Hi, before we move on to the next question, जो कि हमने अक्षय सर से पूछा था, we will be taking a moment and thanking टेस्ट बुक. टेस्ट बुक हमारे नॉलेज पार्टनर्स हैं. अगर आप ये पॉडकास्ट देख रहे हैं और अगर आप एक जुडिशरी के एस्पायरेंट हैं, we have a good news for you. टेस्ट बुक आपके लिए लेकर के आया है एक फ्री ईमेल बेस्ड मेंटोरशिप प्रोग्राम. सिंस ये एक ईमेल बेस्ड मेंटोरशिप प्रोग्राम है, आपको सारे के सारे लेसन्स, फीडबैक्स, आंसर राइटिंग के गाइडेंस, tips, strategies, insights, everything would be available to you in an online mode through your email IDs. इसमें आपके मेंटोर रहेंगे शुभम उपाध्याय सर. तो इन केस आप एक सीरियस एस्पायरेंट हैं, आप इस वीडियो की डिस्क्रिप्शन पे जाइए, वहाँ पर आपको एक लिंक दिखेगा. उस लिंक पे क्लिक करने के बाद आप रीडायरेक्ट कर दिए जाएंगे टेस्ट बुक की वेबसाइट पर. वहाँ जाकर के यू कैन सब्सक्राइब ऑन टू दिस लिंक एंड यू कैन टेक एंड अवेल फुल बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस थिंग. थैंक यू. तो सर लॉज क्या क्या इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं जो कि एक बच्चे को पता होना चाहिए, द लॉज दैट अ पर्सन शुड नो एंड बी अवेयर ऑफ बिफोर ही इज ट्राइंग टू स्टेप इनटू अ कॉर्पोरेट लॉ प्रैक्टिस?
So again, corporate law itself is a very broad field. Within that, there are different departments and practice areas today which are very well recognized in different law firms. So if you are in a general corporate or M&A practice, right, mergers and acquisitions practice, then the laws which are largely involved is Companies Act. That's your Bible, right? Contract Act. That's like, I would say, more than Bible. It's like something so basic that you need to know. But I'm surprised that many young lawyers actually don't know basics of contract, and they don't know that sometimes there are provisions in Contract Act which may hit the contracts that they are writing. And if they write it differently, then they may pass the muster, right? Like non-compete clauses, like indemnity clauses. So there are statutory provisions governing those. And one must be very, and there are judicial precedents which have interpreted those statutory provisions. So unless we know those, we may just think that whatever we write is enforceable, but it might not be, right? Then I would say SEBI laws, if you are in mergers and acquisition practice, then takeover code becomes very important for you, especially if your team does public mergers and acquisitions. Transfer of Property Act, and these days Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, because a lot of M&A happens through IBC also, right? So these are the major laws which I would say one should be very conversant with, in addition to, of course, Foreign Exchange Management Act and all the notifications and circulars surrounding those. But on the other hand, if you are in capital markets team, then while these laws are important, but what gets focused is something called ICDR, which is the disclosure norms of SEBI. You should be very well conversant with those, because while you are asked to just do due diligence in your first and second year, you need to know, because you are directly then doing due diligence and also populating sections of the disclosure document you are making, like a IPO document or something. So you need to know what should be disclosed, what should not be disclosed, what to be written. And when you participate in meetings, when your partner is asked questions, should we disclose this, not disclose this, you can relate to it. In absence of knowing the law, you will somehow survive, but you will not enjoy, because you will not relate to what's being discussed, and you will be a little blank.
एंड सर इसका एक फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन है, आप इन सब लॉज के लिए कोई बुक रेकमेंड कर सकते हैं?
तो देखो, अगर मैं पर्टिकुलर बुक की बात करूंगा तो मेरे ख्याल से वो एक तरीके से पब्लिसिटी हो जाएगी किसी पर्टिकुलर बुक की. सो आई वुड नॉट लाइक टू टेक नेम ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर बुक, बट आई थिंक रीड व्हाटएवर बुक दैट सूट्स यू. Everyone is very sharp and intelligent these days, so you can know, if you do moods etc., you know what helps you, what doesn't help you. And these days there are so many blogs also. Like हमारे ज़माने में तो वो होता नहीं था. They were actually just books which we had to rely upon. I would say also don't undermine the importance of reading landmark judgments of Supreme Court and High Court on particular topics, right? Like for example, if you have to study corporate veil, तो book वगैरह से अच्छा है कि आप जो एक लैंडमार्क लेटेस्ट जजमेंट है, आजकल क्या हो रहा है, एक अच्छी चीज़ हो रही है कि ऑल दो बड़ी लंबी लंबी जजमेंट्स आती हैं, बट वो पूरा लॉ समराइज कर देते हैं उसी के अंदर, राइट? दे विल डिस्कस द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ लॉ। तो अगर आप एक 100-150 पेज का अच्छा जजमेंट पढ़ लेंगे तो आपको उसका पूरा हिस्ट्री पता लग जाएगा। जैसे पुट्टू स्वामी अगर आप पढ़ लेंगे तो आपको फंडामेंटल राइट्स, राइट टू प्रिवेसी खड़क सिंह से लेके अब तक सारा एक अच्छा स्नैपशॉट आपको मिल जाएगा, राइट? एंड देन यू आर आल्सो रीडिंग actual law, like which is what you have to practice.
That is very interesting.
Which you have to practice, right? So I would say read latest cases on the topics that come, latest notifications, circulars, right? Because a lot of corporate law is hidden in delegated legislation. That's one difference from litigation. Litigation mein law is in case laws and statutory provisions, but in corporate law the law that you practice is 60 to 70% delegated legislation. There are rules, company act rules which you need to know, right, to be a productive lawyer. There are SEBI KB regulations, RBI circulars, RBI rules, regulations that you need to know.
Actually implement तो वही हो रहा है ना.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The practice is all around that,
Exactly.
right? So आपकी research skills is not just limited to now case laws and ratio decide and die, but it is actually how you find relevant circulars, how you find relevant regulations, right?
This makes sense now.
Yes. Another very important thing which I think corporate lawyers miss, and they think it's not important, but I think it's very, very important, is you need to be very conversant in principles of statutory interpretation. Okay? You need to be very conversant with those principles.
Okay.
Because in corporate law, you are interpreting statute and regulated this delegated legislation quite a bit, right? Many a times, yes, you go by market practices, but market practices don't pass legal muster, right? To pass legal muster of innovative transaction structures that you may be working on, because it's a very evolving practice. People want to do different kind of transactions all the time. Transaction structures keep changing, right? Now, to know whether a transaction structure is legal, enforceable, whether it is within the four corners of regulations that govern it, many a times the language of regulation is not that crystal clear. Because it is ultimately delegated legislation.
Everything is evolving, right? Even the regulations.
They are also evolving, and they are being written, they are not being debated in parliament all the time, right?
Absolutely.
They are being written by statutory authorities who have power to frame those regulations, right? So there is scope of interpretation, right? Unless you know basics, and I would say even depth of statutory interpretation principles, you will not be able to interpret things in a proper way.
Direction देने के लिए एक उसको.
Right. So I would say that your seniors will be very happy with you if you are working on, let's say, an opinion, a transaction structure opinion, that whether the structure passes the muster or not, right? Which is also very, very relevant part of any corporate law practice, that you have to give these opinions. If you take your analysis to the partner beyond regulations and direct case laws, also to say that, as per principles of statutory interpretation, this is the interpretation one must be taking. It will give a lot of weight to the opinion that you write. It will not be just my word against someone else's word. It will be based on very sound principles. And I will want to give credit of me knowing the value of statutory principles to my first mentor in my life, Mr. Amit Kapoor, who is now joint managing partner of JSA. I started my career with him. I learned from him the value of principles of statutory interpretation. तो उस ज़माने में हम लाइब्रेरी में जीपी सिंह खोल के बैठते थे, ठीक है, और प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टैट्यूटरी इंटरप्रिटेशन के बेसिस पे तब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लॉज के रेगुलेशंस बहुत नए नए डेवलप हो रहे थे, तो उसकी रिसर्च हमें मिलती थी करने के लिए. एंड अमित सर इज मतलब ही इज एन अथॉरिटी इन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लॉज. सो उस रिसर्च में वी यूज्ड टू यूज प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टैट्यूटरी इंटरप्रिटेशन क्वाइट अ बिट.
तो सर अगर मान लीजिए किसी बच्चे ने कॉर्पोरेट लॉ प्रैक्टिस में आना है तो उसे अपना सीवी कैसे बिल्ड करना चाहिए और उसके सीवी में क्या क्या कंपोनेंट्स होने चाहिए?
So any recruiter, any high pressure job would require you to handle things in a balanced way. Ability to handle. तो CV में भी आपके कोई ये देखेगा कि आप में वो एबिलिटी है कि नहीं है, which means कि भाई CGPA is very good, which means you can handle your academics good. But can you only handle your academics good और साथ में आप मूट भी कर पा रहे हो, which is an extra curricular, और आपको आप क्या अच्छे मूड्स कर पा रहे हो जिसमें आप compete करके आगे जा पा रहे हो, आप उसमें कुछ अवार्ड्स ले पा रहे हो, क्या उसके साथ में आपने इंटर्नशिप्स के लिए भी टाइम निकाला? Are you thoughtful about your internships? For example, there are so many people who will have human rights internships, who will have different, but then they want job in corporate law. So, I'm not against human rights law practice. It's a very noble profession. One must have it. But if you want a corporate law internship, you should be choosing your internships wisely, right? You choose your internships very wisely, right? So, like I was interviewing a candidate. She was very clear that she wanted to do only in arbitration, right? And she said so. So we were so impressed with her, although she had chosen a very narrow stream for herself. But we said she's so clear that we will create that and we will give her more arbitration kind of opportunity. So we recommended her for litigation and arbitration department rather than in corporate law department, right? So I think build your CV which demonstrates how you can handle multiple things, right? With a flair, right? You may be having a top CGPA but no moods, or only moods, no CGPA. I think that balance needs to be there so people can know that you can handle multiple things with flair.
Okay, sir. Nice. तो सर आप भी यही सब चीज़ें देखते हैं when you are hiring somebody in your firm?
See these things, but मैं थोड़ा सा अलग भी हूँ, ठीक है? So I give more value to attitude than just credentials, right? Like let's say there is a CV with all these, but the person is so arrogant, right? There is so much arrogance around them. So I think they may not fit in my team, right? If they know it all, kind of an attitude comes in before starting the profession, then that's a dampener for me personally, right? For me, having some kind of honesty to even acknowledge, like I would really value a candidate if that candidate has not been able to answer any question I've asked on technical round, right, out of let's say Contract Act or Companies Act or something. But after 2 days, he or she emails me and say, I actually read about what you said and now I understand what you are asking and this is the answer, right? This is the case law, this governs it, I did this. I would hire that person.
Nice. That really is a attitude of a mentor. तो सर आपने LLB किया है NLIU भोपाल से and LLM आपने किया है कोलंबिया यूनिवर्सिटी USA में, which is an Ivy League university. So I would want to ask कि although this is a very very good university, but USA में अगर LLM pursue करना हो तो बहुत ज़्यादा महंगा पड़ जाता है. तो क्या उसका कोई फ़ायदा होता है when somebody is trying to seek a job here in India, या फिर वो सिर्फ academics के purpose से useful रहता है?
I think one should not expect very direct benefits out of LLM. If you want to come to, first of all, coming back to India and then repaying the loan is not very easy, right? I don't know what kind of loan you are taking, what kind of interest rates they are. If it's an Indian loan, then interest rates are also very high, right? So that can be a big, baggage, I would say, unless your family has those resources and they can afford that you can go. Then it's definitely a very good exposure, I would say. It's a excellent exposure to meet people of different nationalities, to learn in a different kind of pedagogy, right? To make those networks. It enhances your personality quite a bit. So there are indirect benefits, I would say, of doing a LLM from a very good institute abroad. But if you want to ask for a very direct ROI, return on investment kind of a thing, I don't think so. Because you will always be treated as a fresher, like a LLB from India. You will not be given much credit because you are studying for a year or so, mostly US laws, right?
Exactly.
So it's more of indirect benefits, I would say.
Capability जरूर वो आपकी show कर देता होगा, but वो knowledge base is something which is not really.
No, so see, law in any event, I don't see it as a knowledge of particular laws. Law is a skill. You have a skill to read any law and make things out of it, right? So those do get enhanced when you go and study LLM. But I would say if you expect that I'll come back and I'll be a very sought after commodity, I'll get more than what non-LLMs are getting, those are not correct expectations, and for right reasons. Because that value addition is not happening because of LLM in Indian market. But if you want to work abroad, then that's, especially in US, right? If you want to work in US, then there is no other way you can work in US than doing LLM and passing New York or California bar, right? So if you have that ambition, that I want to work in a US law firm, then this is the only path available to you, right? So then you have to take a chance.
तो सर आपका तो न्यूयॉर्क बार का एग्जाम क्वालिफाइड है, तो आपने ये उसी टाइम पे क्वालिफाई किया था?
Yes. And then I got a job there as well. I worked with Davis Polk and Wardwell for some time before I chose to come back.
थोड़ा सा सेंसिटिव रहता है क्योंकि आप पैसे उतना.
Yeah, I was lucky, I would say, that I got a job. God was kind, and I could then square off my loans by the income I generated and the kind of lifestyle I lived in New York, right? So I didn't have that baggage when I came back. So once I could square off my loans, I could come back.
Nice. Sir, आपको लगता है कि is it because of the fact that you are a meditator तो इसने आपको help करा है?
So it's a journey. Meditation or any spiritual practice you do, or life is a journey, right? I'm still learning the ropes of it, right? But definitely on the way, it has helped me. It has helped me see things in right perspective and then taking decisions, right, accordingly. That what you want and then what you want to do, and have courage to take those decisions, right? So after I started doing meditation, there was one such night when I had to send a document. I was a senior associate and I had to send that document that night itself. Instead of taking these kind of breaks, because breaks are important, right? What do you do in the break is very important, is what I have realized, right? What you do in the break is something that takes away your focus, makes you more distracted, right? Is going to make your hours where you're supposed to be focused difficult, right? So what I tried this time was that when I had to take a break, I did one of my meditation practices, which is what we call a rejuvenation or cleaning, where you just remove all the stress out in the evening, right? Through a simple mental power of will, you do that. I did that. I felt very lighter, and I could then focus on my work, right? And after that, it took me some time. It was almost morning, and I didn't want to miss my group meditation, so I actually went from office for group meditation.
It happens in the morning at 6?
At around 7:30 a.m., right? And I went from office, and then I went home. I said that will actually energize me more than just hitting the bed. And then I slept after going back home. So I learned that what you do, let's say, I'm not saying only meditation. Someone wants to take a walk, someone wants to listen music, right? They really like to listen to nice music. Listen to your favorite music during a break you take. If that energizes you, do that, right? Whatever, if talking to a very dear person energizes you, do that. Have that chat in the break, right? Do something which really works for you, gets you that energy back. But if you spend your break then doing something which is typically supposed to deplete you of that energy, mental energy, and then that task will become more daunting.
थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर योर वैल्यूएबल टाइम एंड हम इसका एक सीक्वल ज़रूर बनाएंगे जिसमें वी विल एक्चुअली डिस्कस कि मेडिटेशन का क्या रोल रहता है टू हैव अ पॉजिटिव बेंट ऑफ माइंड एंड हाउ टू फोकस एंड हाउ इट एक्चुअली हेल्प्स वन फोकस ऑन देयर वर्क.
We can actually talk about how we can use this in our practice, in our professional life, right? Like I have also like as part of Heartfulness, we have run courses in Nalsar, Symbiosis, which are called 3P courses, like preparing for the profession, where the topics like time management, heartful communication, decision making, stress management, anxiety management, those kind of life skills we have shared based on the studies of Harvard and very best-selling author books like Atomic Habits and so on and so forth. And along with that, students were exposed to meditation, because meditation helps you adopt a habit. Like all students know, मेरे को ज़्यादा social media नहीं करना चाहिए, but जब phone पड़ा होता है तो they can't control their urges, right? सबको पता है physical exercise is good, but सुबह snooze alarm बजा के physical exercise miss होती है, right? सबको पता है कि I need to eat healthy, but control नहीं होता है. So meditation helps you gain that control over yourself, and this life skill convinces your intellect why and how to do certain things, right? How to form new habits, what are the techniques and tips for it, what is the Eisenberg का matrix कि time management में important क्या है, urgent क्या है, किस चीज़ को delete कर देना है. So those tips help you in this. So maybe we can, talk a little bit about it in the next sequel. Like एक tip जैसे अब break की हमने बात करी. अब एक heartfulness में एक relaxation technique होती है where 5 minutes you can relax your body. So if you're really stressed out, rather than adding stress to it, you can just actually antidote use कर लो ना. You just relax yourself. So
I will message you again. So
I'll be very happy to do that.
Thank you so much for your time today, sir. I know that you have to go now. So thank you so much. I hope you will learn a lot from him now from this podcast.
I'm very grateful. Thanks for having me over, Charvi. And keep doing the good work that you're doing for all the law students. I think, I hope that we had all these kind of tools available when we were studying, but we didn't have such podcasts back then. But now the law students are lucky to have people like you